could go share it. Yay!
There you go.
Wow!
Are you sharing it to? Are you sharing it to the two groups? Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it all over right now. But the first thing that popped up when I opened my Facebook was someone posted in a Night Vision group, like brand new, like factory set of Anvis 9s, like multiple sets for
I saw those.
So cheap.
I know, I saw those earlier today. I was like, ooh, that's tempting. But yeah.
Crazy. All right, share. Think I'll get kicked out of all these other groups I'm in if I just start sharing it into every single group?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Probably would be frowned upon.
Probably. Oh, man. So are you over the, I don't want to call it jet lag, but it is kind of like travel lag, I guess.
Oh, yeah, just from all of last week?
Yeah.
For the most part, I think so. We had all weekend to mostly rest, and our travels were what? I think we're in the air for all of, an hour and a half?
Right. Yeah, the flight back from Salt Lake to Pocatello was so freaking short.
Well, even with the layover, that was all of 30 seconds.
Yeah,
maybe.
So our flight from Vegas to Salt Lake got delayed, like for takeoff, and so we're sitting there, and we ended up taking off like 40 minutes late, and then our flight from Salt Lake to Pocatello was on time, obviously, because it's a tiny plane, and so we had like 30 seconds to get 4 gates over, which wasn't bad. Like, because when we went down, we had to go all the way across the terminal to go from our Pocatello plane to our Vegas plane. But we only had to go four gates over. But of course, all of us had to pee in between. So we're all like trying to duck into the bathroom, and Derek gets onto the plane. He's like, "Oh, I should have gone to the bathroom in the terminal." So it's really nicely just let him get into the bathroom before takeoff.
No, it was good though. Travel, the whole thing went pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
We didn't lose luggage, which was a massive win. Samsung Air Trackers, like what is it called? The AirTag, but Samsung is totally worth the investment for traveling. It's so nice to know your bags are on board with you. So yeah, I did that this time. I've done that for the last 2 flights, and it's been totally worth it. Last time with gear, it was because it was expensive. This was because I had them. I was like, why not? But
yeah. Did you put your phone on ice?
I did put my phone on ice.
Well, you got kind of grainy there for a minute, but we're gonna have to like get you Wi-Fi at some point. And
yeah, I just need to actually invest in it one of these days.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to talk about games plans for this week.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah. So we were looking at the different. We had a lot of requests to go out, do an outside game at Midway. I went out and went to go take a look at it. It is a total sloppy hole right now. Like,
Yeah.
the problem is Midway drains water really well, actually, but the frost got down about 18 inches, 2 foot first. And so we've melted the top 2 inches in the last week. But that just means that 2 inches is just a mucky mess. And anything underneath it, though, there's nowhere for the water to drain to.
It's just pools.
Yeah.
So the trenches are rock hard, completely frozen solid. They have 6 inches of ice in the bottom of them. And then the sides are like soaking wet
Because they're just like dripping.
because they're
water
just
through it.
dripping water down into the trench where then it can refreeze.
Yeah.
Long story short, we are not going to do a game at Midway yet. We've had that poll. I'll post on the results as well as to EIA to let everyone know that doesn't see this, to know that we're still going to be in the factory. Factory will still be open as normal sessions. We will be having a game at Midway in March. Is the next for sure time we're having a game out there.
Yeah.
We will try to get one in if either enough people are interested that if the ground will refreeze, we can do an outside game for the people that want to in the cold. We were hoping to get one in this week because it was warmer, but
So nice out right now.
it actually turned out to be a negative that it got warmer rather than a positive.
Yeah.
So that's what that's at. Other than that, we're going to go to the Midway, we'll go to the factory. Last week, the factory was hopping. We had private birthday parties right and left. We had a school came out and brought in 23 guys and rented out the thing. We had private training in there last week.
Mhm.
They worked a lot on movement and bounding and a lot of the stuff that have some guys in our community that have started to touch on, but haven't dug in frankly, haven't dug in enough into it. And it makes a huge difference either in airsoft, but certainly in airsoft, but more so in a real life application. Knowing that kind of movement makes a huge difference in everything you're doing. So it was fun to watch those guys. Had 4 birthday parties last week at the factory.
Wow.
Some of the guys got to go play with those guys. We had some of our regulars got to jump in on some of those sessions. So all in all, the factory was awesome last week. We very much appreciate everyone for coming out, and hopefully we have another good week this week. It looks like Thursday's, I think a ticket is sold on Thursday, and
Yeah, I saw that.
hopefully we'll have a few more start rolling in. And if you ever have birthday parties or youth groups, school classes, work, business stuff, whatever.
Yeah, I had our business relations rep from our ICCU credit union here in Rigby today. He just stopped in and was like, "Hey, I wanted to bring you a couple cards," and so we just talked for a minute. But I mentioned to him, I'm like, "Hey, if you guys ever want to do like a group party thing for work, like you guys should come over and we can talk about it." And he's like, "Really? You guys do that?" So yeah, I think we're going to start getting more and more businesses coming in, which is great for airsoft because the community is just going to keep growing. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Another thing I'm going to start talking to other businesses about. One of the things that we did when I was at the sheriff's office a lot is we would actually do like kind of an active shooter advisory thing. We'd go business to business and talk to them and like do a demonstration for the businesses and talk to them about like run, hide, fight type stuff. And so that'd be kind of interesting to offer to some businesses locally and let them come to the factory and talk about, what their policies are versus what you should do in that type of situation. So,
yeah. So here's a wild stat for everybody. This week we had 62 first-time airsofters in the factory.
Wow.
That's nuts.
So how's that for an awesome stat? We had 62 first timers, and we had 30 something
Wow.
return guys.
Man.
That's a
So
good week.
it was a great week, and
Hopefully
hopefully
we
we
can
see
get
a
that
lot
going.
of those guys come back. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just from talking, it sounds like a lot of those guys are coming in to actually start playing regularly. So we'll see a lot of new faces out of the factory, which I think will be fun for a lot of guys.
yeah, factory, and once we get those guys outside, I mean, once
Yeah.
it warms up a little bit, it's just going to be this summer is going to be hopping. So we're
It's gonna be nuts. It's
very
so
much
great.
excited for everything we can offer the community this
Yeah.
coming summer season. So
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. Well, keep an eye on our social media. Make sure if you see something that you want your friends to be a part of, you share it with them. If you see something that's cool and you don't necessarily think your friends will think it cool, you should share it anyway because they probably are going to think it's cool. I tried to post a lot on our Instagram. I did not post anywhere near as much as I wanted to last week, but I did get some cool content and some cool information. So hopefully all that content helps kind of build interest and build the community a lot. As far as other events coming up, obviously we've got our regular game days and everything coming up, open play at the factory. But next weekend on the 10th, we have we're doing an expo at the Mountain America Center in Idaho Falls, right? I don't have all the information for that, but what is it? Do you remember what it's called exactly, Derek? I can look it up.
Yes, it is called. If you give me 30 seconds, I'll pull it up.
Should be able to find it on like my events, right? Oh, look at there. Okay, it's the Falls Market Lover Expo. It's a kind of a Valentine's Day themed thing because it's February.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of small businesses in the area for them to come and expo all their stuff. So we got in on that. We're like one of the main
Headliners.
contributors, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're one of the big ones there.
Yeah.
If you guys want some major discounts on training, come swing by our booth.
Yeah.
We've got some pretty crazy deals going on for us to launch everything there. And we're really trying to get the community more trained up. So,
and we've got a killer booth location, which is kind of cool. That's one of the things that we learned at SHOT is like booth location matters.
Yeah.
Everybody on the second floor looks down at the people on the first floor. They're just like, I don't go to the first floor with all the plebeians. Yeah,
so it might just be us, but
it probably is just us. I'm sure that most of SHOT Show doesn't look down at everybody, but like as a first-time SHOT Show attendee, there was a very different feel with the booths upstairs as compared to the booths downstairs. And evic.com had a killer booth location. It was
we were right next to the Holosun booth, right next to Geisley, Beretta.
Smith and Wesson was like 3 booths down.
Yeah.
Aim Point was right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
we really had a prime location. I don't know how Evic got that location, because definitely not their normal location, it sounds like, because usually the reason why there was a big shuffle this last year, because SIG usually would take like 6 or 7 of those blocks that we were on.
Yeah.
And since SIG didn't come this year and book all those spaces, that opened that spot for all these new people from downstairs to come up or move around and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that same booth spot from last year for next year.
Yeah.
But should we dive into some of these cool product things that we got to see and talk about some of that stuff?
Sure. We don't have a ton of viewership right now. So real quick, if you're watching, just share the video so that other people can see this. But yeah, I brought up a couple videos that I took while we were at SHOT Show. We visited. It's kind of nice. So we went with evic.com with Titan batteries, which we know and love, obviously.
Yep.
And so we were there working with Titan Batteries, and they allowed us to go like on their time, go in and actually have meetings of our own for Advantage, which was really cool.
Yeah, we
so
got really
a,
lucky our
it was
position there.
super good deal for us because we didn't have to pay to have a booth, obviously, but we got to be there and operate business and work with a lot of the companies that we do business with. For me, the coolest part of the whole thing was just getting to meet people that we work with every day that I've never met in person. So to just make that face-to-face connection with people was really cool. So yeah, we went around to a bunch of our vendors' booths. We went around to some of the kind of, I guess, real steel market vendors that we've made connections with, and we talked to a bunch of them. So I'm going to show you guys. First up, I want to talk about, we went and visited our man Landon at the Elite Force booth, which Elite Force, Walther, Umarex, all the same company. One of the coolest products I saw released by them, and they have a bunch of new releases right now. But one of the coolest products was something that I'm not kidding. About 10 minutes before this, I had a police department from somewhere in Southern California came up and asked me if evic.com had any Walther PDPs that were optic ready. And I was like, no, they're not really on the market. Well, then next thing you know, we go over to Elite Force and they show me this, which is, it is a half blowback, which we here at the shop, we sell half blowbacks like crazy. We love half blowbacks. They are, in spite of their trigger, they're great for training. They're a great tool. They're super gas efficient, minimal parts.
Reliable.
Yeah, super reliable. And so this is a half blowback Walther PDP. So it does use the stick magazines, which means that the CO2 is embedded in the handle, obviously.
Yeah.
But super clean, obviously real spec and everything as far as the size and everything. So it's going to work great in holsters. But the coolest thing about this is that it comes optics ready. And Landon was telling us at Elite Force, basically what they're trying to do is 90% of all the pistols that they're pushing out now, they know that people want red dots. So they're trying to release everything with an optics compatibility feature. So kind of cool. There's some customers have been in the last year, especially, and asked specifically for, a PDP that is optics ready. The coolest part is about this for training is that since they did a half blowback version first, they're also releasing the T4E marker at the same time. So it's an optics ready airsoft pistol, but since it runs on the same system as the T4E system, they've released a blue version for T4E for training specifically. So if there's an agency that wants specifically a PDP that's optics ready and they're looking for another option outside of Simunitions, the T4E is a great option. So super cool. I was really excited about that. That's that first one. So if you guys have questions about that and you want to order one, let us know because we'll be able to get those pretty soon from Elite Force. I think they said they're pretty much ready for orders on that product. So
that sounds right.
Cool. Anything that you want to point out first? Or do you want me to keep going?
I think you keep going, man. Yeah.
Okay. So this next one is really cool. You might freak out about this. I'm kind of Blake freaked out about this. So we were at the evic.com party, right? Yeah. And my boy Ryan at G&G, he's so funny. He just ran up to us like all of a sudden, like throws something up on the evic wall right under all the G&G guns. And just for anyone that isn't aware, I wasn't aware of this before we went. The evic.com party, they do it at the evic store there in Las Vegas. And I guess technically it's in Henderson. But yeah, they've got like a field that's open there. They had these computers set up with an airsoft video game. So like a computer, like a PC cafe type thing. And everyone could just get on and put on a headset, and you literally it's like Milsimmers versus Speed Softers in this game, and you take multiple hits. You have like a hit marker or a hit counter. But yeah, so me and the guys from Titan were fighting against each other. Trent, the owner of Titan, he honestly kicked my butt. He's a better game.
I wish I could have. I wish I was talking to people that whole entire time. I wish I could have gone over there and played that for a second.
Me and Trent and John, and then some random like old guy jumped in there, and he was kicking our trash. It was fun. But anyway, the cool thing about that game, I'll get back to the G&G stuff here in a second. But the cool thing about the game, I was talking to the guy that was kind of demoing it, is that so Evic is working on a system to basically add barcodes to all their products, so that if you have a player in the game, you can actually scan your barcode and it'll add it to your player profile. And then you can put that gear on your character in the game, which is kind of cool. So
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's just kind of a nerdy little thing, like a collector thing.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we're at the Evic party. We're in the store, and Ryan from G&G goes up and he throws this like weird bullpup looking thing up on the wall. And he's like, kind of like looks and he's like, "Hey, go check it out. Go check it out." I'm like, "Really? Like, what is that?" He's like, "Just go look at it." I'm like, Can I take pictures? Can I videotape?" He's like, "Yeah, do whatever you want." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I go over there and I start looking at this thing, and I got really excited. I'm just gonna like let you watch it for a second and see if you guys can figure out what it is.
Let's put it this way. We were both kind of like geeking out about this whole thing as we were looking at it. It was like, no freaking way, no way, no way. It's pretty cool.
So it's a bullpup that takes M4 mags, but if you look really, really close, I'm gonna play that again. Look really, really close right here. That's not a safe semi-full. That's a 0, 5, and 10. Yeah. So it's a bullpup shotgun that has an internal gas reservoir that runs off of standard AEG M4 mags and is either 5 or 10 shot.
And it worked. Like so they had no BBs but gas in there, and so you're gonna pull the trigger and dude, it's clean.
Yeah, people were messing around with it. Like I was not the first person to pick it up and pull the trigger, and it had plenty of gas in it when I picked it up.
Yeah, we have no idea how much had been pulled or anything, so we can't really speak about gas efficiency. But
that section right there, right behind the mag, that's a gas reservoir, and it was decently weighty in the back too.
Yeah,
so
it's
probably got a decent sized. Yeah, it's got a decent sized canister in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, super freaking cool. Not only that, but the fill valve for this thing was right there, right on the bottom of the stock. So if you wanted to like HPA tap that thing. So yeah, we were given like literally zero details about it other than go look at it and play around with it. And we tried to bug him on price and tried to bug him on like release date and everything. He's like, "Dude, I have no idea." Says this thing literally, it was in Taiwan at the G&G factory, basically, where they're demoing everything that they're producing. And he's like, he says, "I picked it up and played with it, and I told them I need this back in the States with me right now." Like, "No, it's not ready. It's not ready." And he's like, "I don't care. I want it there. Like, I want to show it off." So they sent it to him like right before SHOT Show. And
dude, that's what I've learned about SHOT Shows. Everything's like, "We finished this last night with super glue, but it looks amazing."
Yeah, basically. So super cool. I have no idea when this is going to be released. New product from G&G. They're working on a bunch of stuff. I was actually really impressed. I didn't go to like G&G didn't have a booth at SHOT Show this year. So everything we saw was right there at the Evic party. So RD, do you guys do the airsoft? So
a little bit, just a
little bit. But yeah, this is one of the coolest things that I've seen a manufacturer release.
In a long time.
I don't think we're going to get more details on this unless G&G does a booth at some point at SHOT Show, which it sounds like they probably won't. It's not gonna. We're not gonna get more details on this until a company like Evic gets it for distribution. So super exclusive sneak preview for you guys. There was only one other person I saw post a video of this on Instagram, and no one got as much detail about it as we did, which was very little. so
There's also
I
just
feel
not a lot
like
of information out there right now.
yeah.
Even
So then
talking
we're
about
like
it with-
scoop,
not a
big
lot.
scoop. We're the only ones with the scoop. Here's the scoop. But yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that Ryan and I talked about that they're releasing, they're doing a split gearbox, which is cool.
I think
And
that's pretty sure that's been released. It's got a
Yeah.
bunch of that whole split gearbox system was based off of a kind of a teaser that they showed 5 years ago probably, and
Yeah,
they
like
had
the-
all
version 2 Gen 3 whatever they call it at the time.
something. Yeah, but I mean, it had all kinds of interesting, like it had like a QD motor swap. It had a whole like QD electrical upgrade system that you could upgrade your MOSFETs like
Yeah,
quickly,
super
not having to
modular.
do a lot. And so they kind of scaled back. They went to a split gearbox, so very reminiscent of the old ICS design. And then they have, which is really interesting, which I kind of want to check out at some point, is they have it. Your hop up is proprietary and it locks into the gearbox. And so I'm really interested to see how that goes for them. I think they added it's also got, if you're familiar with the paintball world, it has eyes. And so basically what that means, it has a laser, so the gun knows when there's a BB in the chamber. And so it has last round cutoff, which is again kind of a nice feature that you can turn all those functions off. And so it's a lot of proprietary new technology within a AEG, but it's still based on a V2 system. So I don't think it's really going to catch. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there, but I don't think from a end user standpoint is really going to matter enough for it to really be to take the market over or really make a difference at the end of the day. We've had split gearboxes, we've had different last round cutoff features and all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the day, it's all just kind of they're cool functions.
What I was most excited about from talking to Ryan about that product in particular was he raved about the performance. And he's kind of a techie guy, and he talked a little bit about how he's built some really expensive AGs that performed really nicely. And this gun, since he got it with its current features, it's like, this is hands down my favorite gun. Like, I don't use anything else. And it's like out of the box. He says it was just insane, the performance and the AEG performance, especially like when you're comparing AEG to AEG, you've got a really high-end custom AEG that you build, and then you get something off the shelf that performs that well. That's what he was really blown away by. So
we'll have to look into that. I don't know what price points are. I think they've been published at one point. I think it might actually be out already.
Well, it's like you've even asked me recently, like, what, like, have you thought about like looking into G&G again? I'm just like, nah, G&G never does anything new. And then I find out that they've actually done a lot of stuff new. And then I see stuff like this. I'm like, okay, we probably ought to look at G&G a little bit more.
G&G is interesting because, like, if you go back early, I don't know, 2020s, not 2020s, like
2010s.
2012. Yeah, 2010s, early 2010s. That's better. They owned the market. Like, when they released the combat machine, they literally owned the market. And then they rode that that popularity for like 5 or 10 years, and they didn't really do, like, they updated that model a fair amount, but there wasn't any big shifts for them to really take market share. And so they've been taken over by your Specnas, your Lancers, your Arcturuses, your all the things. And so, but now there seems like they're kind of pushing out newer stuff that's on the higher end of the market. That I'm pretty excited to see how it plays out. Some of their newer stuff looks pretty good. So I don't know, maybe it's worth taking another gander at, Joseph, to maybe stock some stuff in the future. If you guys want us to, reach out, let us know that you want us to do it, and we will look into it.
Yeah. I'm going to be selfish and hit on my wife's questions here really quick.
Let's do
I
it.
want to see what your answer is to that first question, Derek. What was the worst part of the entire SHOT Show experience?
Probably standing for like a week straight.
Yeah.
That, like, honestly, there
agree.
wasn't a lot of. We planned out pretty well, and so I don't know if there was anything that I would say is like the worst part.
I think the worst part for me was like traffic wasn't terrible. I'll say like
For
Las Vegas's infrastructure, they've got it pretty nailed down. They know how to handle crowds. I was blown away with how like effective and present the law enforcement seemed to be.
Yep.
Like they're just like, yeah, we need to shut down half the city, no problem. We'll do that.
But
I think the traffic did kind of suck at times. It was just like, okay, this is the worst part for me was the traffic when we got there, and this is more of a just us not being familiar with SHOT Show thing.
Yeah,
we just didn't even know where to go.
Oh,
Venetian. Oh wait, there's like 4 addresses for the Venetian because it's literally multiple different venues, and so it's like kind of a nightmare at first trying to find our way around. Once we got our bearings though, everything went really smoothly, and then the standing just sucked. But even then, I remember thinking, man, SHOT Show only goes till 5:30. That's so weird. And then it got to 5:30. It was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness it's over. Like that's why SHOT Show only goes till 5:30 is because all those exhibitors are just like, we're done. We're going home.
Yeah, I don't know if there wasn't a whole like negatives. Like I think everything went super smoothly. We didn't really run into any issues. Yeah. Food was easy to find. Everything like, yeah. I think the Monday was probably the hardest because it was so busy. You don't have time to stop. You don't have time to eat.
We just totally skipped lunch on Monday. Didn't even think about food.
We had meetings nonstop Monday. So, I don't know. I don't know if there was any. The worst part was probably just standing. I think my feet are still recovering it, just from being like breaking in new shoes that week and everything. So that's probably the worst part. Okay, this is a good question. This will go into one of our next products, actually. At least for me.
Yeah. So Jory asked next, what is the single thing that you are most excited about from SHOT Show? So,
I think, So, from a product standpoint, of course, right? Talking product, I think the thing I'm most excited for is the new Holostone flashlights. Now, this is probably gonna be a little bit of sticker shock for airsofters in general, but they're releasing a new light that's $190 is their current planned price. Which is really cheap for the performance you're getting. You're getting roughly 80,000 candela and 1,000 lumens. Now, what does that mean? Let's talk into nerdy flashlight stuff really quick. So when you're talking about blinding, so like the actual like wall of light you're projecting and how well it penetrates through other light or distance or all that kind of stuff, that's where candela comes in. Lumens doesn't matter so much. And so their candela is 80,000. I would say most airsoft lights, especially that we sell at Advantage, are what? Maybe 20,000 candela. Maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think. In fact, we could even look on the packaging. The Opsman lights that we sell. I want to say it says 20,000 candela right on the back.
And so they're
like a 680 lumen light.
Yeah, and so just to put things in perspective. The top lights in the industry for shooting, so your Surefire turbos, your Cloud Defense, all these like $400 lights. Those are 100,000 candela usually, or 80 to 100,000 candela, and they're usually around the 1,000 to 1,200 lumens. And so lumens is the amount of light being put out, and candela is like the directional, like the intensity of the light. Basically, is probably the best way to explain it in layman terms. And so in general, you want as much candela and as many lumens as you can get. But you need to make sure you have the right candela, because you can get a 10,000 lumen light that doesn't do anything because it doesn't have the candela to back it up. And so for Holosun to be releasing a light that has 80,000 candela and 1,000 lumens for under 200, it's nuts. Usually that light should cost you 250 to 400, depending on what it comes with and who you're buying it from and all the little features it has. To get something sub 200, I could see this in the next couple of years being the light for airsoft. When you're talking about guys who are serious into training or milsim events or all kinds of stuff, you're gonna get wrecked with airsoft level lights in a few years, is my guess. But that's just kind of how Gear Creep works. You're seeing it with night vision right now. We'll see it with lights later as that comes a little more affordable for a flashlight. So that's probably the thing I'm most excited about from a purchasing standpoint. Those looked really, really good.
Yeah. Their laser unit, the new Holosun laser unit, looks really, really good.
Yeah.
I saw a couple videos of some of the performance, and I obviously can't verify it because I wasn't there, but it looked a little dim. But also, we've been told that the current model that they're debuting right now is not the finished product at all.
I watched a couple more direct interviews with Holosun from SHOT, and they said that they are going to get it right, and that the performance is what we saw in those videos is not the performance that we're going to get. Now, who knows? It's SHOT Show. You can't take anything until we see it in the hands. But I'm glad to hear that we should be getting a really good civilian power laser for sub 1K. If things all work out, which would be awesome.
Yeah. I think the thing that I am personally the most excited about from SHOT Show, I don't know, like individual products wise, it's hard to nail one down. I was talking to somebody today. It's like there really wasn't like a ton of new products. Like we've had a lot of like really heavy releases with SHOT Show in previous years.
Yeah.
And it seems like the last few years it's kind of like slowly trickled off. Like there's not a ton. I think the thing that I am most excited about that I saw as a new release wasn't even necessarily was the MH1, the LLI pod. Was that
it was
SHOT
announced
released, or I was gonna say I thought that was released before or announced before.
It was announced, and it's not even, you can't even buy it yet. But the pricing and everything's available on those. I think they released in 2 weeks. So that was a semi SHOT Show. I'd call it SHOT Show because it was in the last like 2 weeks. They were just prepping for it.
So two companies that I've looked at a lot with night vision over the last few years are Low Light Industries and Nocturne, right? They're kind of like the two most direct competitors in night vision.
Yeah.
Because they've always done lightweight 3D printed style polymer housings. Well, Nocturne announced this year they're actually doing an injection molded polymer housing, which will be a lot lighter than
stronger and lighter.
Yeah. And then LLI announced that they're doing a magnesium alloy metal housing. So, and if you're not familiar with like magnesium alloys, they're super lightweight.
It's
like
honestly
titanium and magnesium are like in the metallurgy world are two of the lightest high strength alloys, I guess.
Yeah, so I think in general, I think we saw a lot of night vision advancements, mostly in weight savings. It seems like every single year we're just cutting ounces off, which is super exciting. As well as everything's getting more and more modular. Those are probably the two biggest takeaways, because there's a lot of other companies that did the same things, not the same things, but we didn't even look at and have ideas. Yeah, but it's all modular and cheaper and stronger. That's like that was kind of the theme of SHOT Show Night Vision this year was modular.
And what's exciting about that for anyone trying to get into night vision is that it just means that the old surplus stuff is just going to keep getting cheaper.
Yeah, we're going to see price drops and all that stuff over the next couple of weeks, months.
Well, we've already seen that, even with like Nocturne announces that they've got a new lightweight arm, a helmet mount for theirs, and already the prices on like the expensive Wilcox G24 breakaway mounts just like dropped.
Plummeted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see myself picking up one of those Nocturne mounts. Those things look pretty slick.
Yeah. I don't have that kind of money yet. Another thing that I saw.
Can we talk about scope switch? Any matter?
Yeah, we should talk about that. Pretty cool. So this is a video I took of Derek modeling this for us. I was going to play.
That's a great question.
I might have to try to pull it up again.
Oh yeah, it's we're having issues.
Yeah,
maybe.
Here, let me pull it off and I can add it in again.
So basically, if you guys don't know what the scope switch is, they released this last year, and basically what it is for LPVOs or low power variable optics. Basically anything that has a throw lever on the back so you can zoom in. They created a system where you can slide your thumb.
Of course, it's like.
So you can see how it's spinning that adjustment dial in the back. And last year they made a manual one where you had to slide your hand back and forth up your hand and down your hand guard. And now this year they released an electronic version. So it's just a button you push that adjusts the LPVO. And I wish we had gotten something through the lens because it looks so cool when you're looking through the lens and just automatically adjusting it. But it works really well. This is not something I think we'll ever see on the airsoft field, at least for the next couple of years. They'll have to make a much cheaper option. This is this is definitely not something I'd even call affordable for anybody other than maybe the government.
But which I'm sure is probably the goal. But the cool thing about this is, I mean, if you watch the video and you look closely, there's actually a few USB ports on the side, and in talking with them, they have plans to basically use this electronic scope switch.
Hey, Joseph, I don't think we can go into that. Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Gotcha. But yeah, super cool.
There's some cool stuff coming.
Well, yeah, and I wasn't gonna say any specifics or anything. Yeah, they're using a data cable there to connect the button, which basically is just, I don't know, it's just sweet. We got to play with the manual version while we were there, and that's the first time I've ever touched one of those and handled one of those. So it was kind of cool to see how easy it was and intuitive it was. And then you switch to the button one, and it's just like, oh, this is so much easier. So super cool. They use like a little belt drive thing on the back right there to attach to the scope, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Sweet. You know what we haven't talked about?
What is that?
New batteries.
Ooh, yeah. Let's pop that picture up really quick.
I don't know if I can get the picture to come up, but you can try.
I got it.
So Titan Batteries announced that they're releasing and manufacturing 2 new lines of batteries, which is kind of dope.
Yeah, so this is something that I've been personally working on for the last 6 months or so. If you guys don't know, I work for Titan Batteries full time. I think most people here know. And so we have launched LiPos, which is super exciting. So now not only do we have the best batteries, but now we have the best batteries that fit in all guns. And they're still USA made, year warranty, and all that great stuff. And then we're doing nickel metal hydrides, which we are really excited about. The performance on those basically destroys every other nickel metal hydride on the market. And so we're really excited to see how the market, players respond to this, because it kind of makes them a viable option again. Now, with that being said, if you already have LiPos from whatever company or a Lion from Titan or another competitor, don't go out and buy these batteries. Nickel metal hydrides are not for you guys. They're meant for more beginner players, but a lot of those batteries are included with guns in boxes and stuff just are not great. And so this gives newer players a better affordable option for kind of replacing those original batteries, instead of having to say, hey, you need a $40 Lion battery to replace your $6 battery. And so yeah, we're super excited about this. We're supporting all players and all guns now, or we will be in the next year or so. But yeah, that's something that I'm super excited to see come to market after all these years or all these months of working on it.
Yeah. And we've already placed our order. So
yeah. They went to production today. Officially, they're now being produced. We are looking at shipping time mid-February, mid to late February for lipos, and early March for nickel metal hydrides, which is different than what we said at SHOT. But as like I said, it's SHOT Show, so things change. So yeah, we are super excited, and obviously because we have a relationship with Advantage with my Titan hat on, we'll be getting those very soon, and we're really excited to have those in.
Yeah, we're excited. Especially, I was just talking to somebody today, and they had a LiPo battery basically blow up on them. It was actually kind of scary. So we plugged it into a Titan charger to kind of get a readout on it.
Yeah,
and it basically says that it's 12.6 volts, but it's only actually reading within the right voltages on one cell, which is, yeah. Basically, we told the kid you probably just should not use that battery because if it's reading 12.6 volts, it means that the cheap charger that they were using knew that the battery should be 12.6 volts, but it didn't actually balance any of those cells. So who knows what the voltages are actually at?
That's actually really scary.
Yeah, based on the way it looked, I think we had one cell that was 4.2 volts and two cells that were not. One was 0 and the other one was whatever was left after 4.2 volts to reach the 12.6. So like 8.2 volts in one cell. Yeah. I just said, yeah, you needed to take that out. We're not. I don't want that in here anymore.
Yeah, get rid of that. That's scary, dude.
He opted to not take his not to be mentioned brand name charger with him either. So he was really excited to hear that Titan's releasing lipos because that's all he wants is Titan batteries, and there was no options for him until now.
Yep, we're doing that now. We all officially fit in the Chris Vector. We talked to Crytek directly about that, and they were super excited to see that we finally fit in a Vector. We're really excited to support that as well. So that's the big Titan update is we're now launching a junk ton more batteries for more players, and so
a junk ton of not junk.
These are we tested a ton of cells and got some amazing cells for what they are. So, and keeping the price point down. That's the other thing too, is we did not put a Titan tax on these. They are priced very aggressively to keep the price down for you guys, the end player, and yet giving you guys still an awesome product. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah. Trevor, to answer your question, yes, we saw the Holosun Iris. We were talking about that a little while ago. Oh, what did you think of the pistol, the thermal pistol optic?
Oh yeah, the thermal pistol optic. It's cool. It's cool.
I mean, it was a really neat proof of concept.
Well, this is my thing. So basically what it is for anyone who doesn't understand or don't know what it is last year Holosun came out with rifle optics that were night vision and thermal. It's digital night vision, and then you have a thermal overlay, a red dot setup, which is super cool. And for a rifle setup, I can see some applications for it. Neither the night vision or thermal is super high quality, so it's not for like detecting people out at 1,000 yards or anything. But if you're going into a room, it's great to be able to see heat signatures and stuff. When it comes to basically, they took that technology and put it into a pistol format, and so you have a red dot. It looks like a smaller Ames if you're familiar with the Holosun Ames, and then you have what I call a flashlight unit you put on the front, and that's your thermal unit. And they talk wirelessly, and it's cool. It's a really cool product. It's a really cool concept. When it comes to functionality, I don't see a situation where I have ever been like, dude, I wish I had a thermal pistol optic. Like that and the battery life right now is they're expecting, like, this is very much prototype. They have no release date. This is very much proof of concept of seeing what the market does. And so the battery life's like 20 minutes right now. But it is a really cool product. It functions really well. I could see heat signatures as far as I could see in that booth space. So I don't know, as far as I could see, it was probably 50 or 80 feet, and it worked. So that thing was really cool. But again, practicality, I don't know if that'll ever really hit the market. The things that I think the most functional I could see is some sort of PCC, a pistol caliber carbine setup, where you have that range. And you have the stability to shoot that range, but it doesn't really, I don't know. I can see it for like varmint hunting. Actually, that's an application. Varmint hunting of some sorts. If you're hitting mice or something, you wouldn't shoot a mouse, but you know what I'm saying. It's been a week.
Well, the thing is, like, so the technology is the same as what they released last year, basically, with their rifle optic, their thermal rifle optic. The difference is that this has the ability of being projected onto a small pistol mounted optic. The downside I see with that is obviously, like, I think a lot of people probably assumed that when initially they released photos and everything, that it was like a super compact thermal optic mounted to the top of a pistol with a flashlight on it, right? Well, in talking with the Holosun reps, obviously that pistol light on there is actually the thermal sensor. So it doesn't have a light functionality to it. It's a very
it does.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it's a super weak light. I mean, it's below the thermal sensor.
Just
but
like a tiny little light. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, its primary purpose is to act as the thermal sensor, and so it kind of takes up a lot of space. It's kind of large. And
the one thing they thought through this really well. What they did was you can have a 1 power zoom on it, or you can go to 0.3 zoom. And so basically that now you're getting more of a fisheye effect, which is actually kind of cool. And so if you're going into clear a room, you could scan that whole room with just a quick little sweep versus having to search the whole entire thing, which is kind of cool. But again, if you're going to a room like that and you're planning on trying to use a thermal optic to detect someone, probably not going to make it too long, is my guess.
Yeah. So here's a different application for this that actually interests me. More so, at least it's more in my experience zone. I have had hunting experiences in Wyoming where I've used a rifle and we've had a wounded animal run out in front of us, and then we lost our light. So then we're hunting rifles are down because we can't use our scopes. We're not dark yet, but we're low enough light that scopes just are no longer effective.
Yeah.
And having that, at that point, my brother and I are both using 10 millimeter pistols, and we're going because they're legal hunting. It's a legal hunting caliber, and we're trying to find. And
yeah,
I don't know the legality of using a thermal optic in that situation. So I'm not advocating that someone use a thermal optic in a hunting application. But
there may be some actual applications.
There may be some applications where at least if you could say, hey, I just found the carcass here. At the very least, you could use it in it's down within 50 yards of me, but it's too dark and I can't see it anymore. You could use some kind of a thermal. I think be able to find something.
Yeah, most people I've seen doing any kind of night hunting use thermal optics already, and so it could be a good supplementation for something like that.
Yeah,
I've seen guys use thermal optics
for like varmint and predator.
And I've seen people click it on and be like, "Hey, you see that line of elk a mile and a half away?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't. I think the legality comes into play. You for sure can't fire using a thermal optic on a big game animal in the dark.
Oh yeah, no, I've only seen
that would certainly be cross line. But from a varmint predator hunting side of things, like
That'd be interesting.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Actually, this was cool. So Thursday night, we went to the Huxworks party, who's a suppressor company, and
Yeah.
AGM, who's a night vision company and thermal company. They made they had a thermal shoot house. And so they had a bunch of just static targets that they put hand warmers behind to heat them. And we used gel blasters to shoot all these different targets, which is actually pretty cool. The cool thing is that I haven't seen this before, is you could see the gel balls on thermal, and you could see the target explode. It was really cool.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Hey, guys, I'm going to be really selfish for a second and say everybody should say hi to my son really quick because he's really excited that he sees us on the TV. So, hi, Leland.
Hi, Leland.
Hey.
My son's adorable, and he's watching. So my wife just texted us, and Leland says hi to all of us, by the way.
Ooh, we also made a really good contact with a medical company.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I think
there?
this is what I was going to say. The number one thing that I'm most excited about from SHOT Show is just the connections that were made.
The friends you made along the way.
Yeah, the real SHOT Show was the friends we made along the way. So, let's talk about this company. So, company in Utah called Snake Staff Systems. They've started producing some medical equipment. The, I guess, front runner of which is their ETQ tourniquet. And I have one right here. So this is their everyday carry tourniquet. And it is as small as the palm of my hand, which is, I have a big hand, but I mean, this is how small it is.
Comparably to like a standard cat tourniquet, do we still have that? Oh, look at that.
Yeah. This is a standard Recon Medical cat style tourniquet. So this is a different brand than the North American Rescue Cat 7, but exactly the same size. Yeah.
And so one of the big things that has been a recent push within the tactical world, and I think in a lot of just medical spaces, is you should, like, especially if you're when you talk about life-saving equipment. So if you have an EDC pistol or something like that, you also really should be carrying a tourniquet because you're more likely to have to use a tourniquet than a pistol. And there's so many situations, and like the more I dug into this, is just like there are so many people who have been in situations that people have passed away because they didn't have a way to stop bleeding, or an effective way to stop bleeding. Because everyone's got a belt on, or you can make something out of a shirt and a stick, but it's just not the same of having a roughly, I think it's a $32 tourniquet that just works the way it's supposed to work, and it's reliable. And
it's tiny and lightweight. I mean, you could carry literally twice as many of these as you do of these. Like,
and
it's just
I spent a day with that tourniquet in my pocket, and just to see if I noticed it, if it was in the way or it was a big deal. I never even noticed. Like, I forgot I had it on there until I put my hand in my pocket to grab my keys or something. I was like, oh, hey, Joseph, I still have this. So we are for sure going to be carrying these things very, very soon. As you guys know, as we're jumping more and more into the training realm and kind of real world applications of things, we are going to be carrying more medical stuff, and we're going to start by carrying those tourniquets specifically because they are awesome. And from a performance standpoint, so talking to the CEO of Snake Staff Systems, she was saying that there is no difference between pain because this is a thinner and smaller tourniquet. So there's a lot of concern about there being more pressure in one spot, causing more pain. And it sounds like from their studies they have done, there's no increase of pain. And from a occlusion standpoint, so basically how well does it stop blood flow, it's exactly the same as wider tourniquets as well.
And they do a wide version of this too, but it is more compact than this.
It's significantly
biggest
more compact.
Thing that stood out to me about this is that it one of the things we talked about is how much better it works on small people.
Yes.
And it's like, you think about kids and everything like that. And I don't know, like as a school resource officer, that was one of the things that that stuck out to me is, like if someone's small enough, you can't put a full-size tourniquet on them. It just doesn't actually work because the buckle section is too large. They're just not made for tiny limbs. And a lot of the people and the kids that were in the school that I worked at were tiny. I mean, there were some 6th and 7th graders who were the sizes of my first grader, like just tiny little people, right? And so if something were to happen to them, this is not going to perform the way that it would if you put it on me, right?
Yeah.
And so having something that is small like that and actually works on a small limb is a huge deal. Like, because if you can stop bleeding on a small limb just by pinching it off, right? Like that's what they teach us at the post academies. If you've got to stop bleeding, for instance, on someone's tiny arm, you just find the vein and you put your thumb there and you squeeze and you give pressure and you can stop bleeding, right? But then what happens if I have to leave that person at that point? I have to make the decision whether to continue to keep them alive or go stop somebody from hurting somebody else.
Yeah.
And so this solves that problem. And like I said, you can carry a duffel bag of these and you'd have 200 of them.
Yeah.
Well, there will be one of these in my vehicles, but like my hunting pack,
Your pack outs for work.
my stuff for work, like trauma at work is a huge problem. We had a guy at work. Honestly, I could have used this a year ago. I had a guy at work dropped a 300-pound granite countertop edge down on his hand and just ripped himself apart. He was gushing blood all over the building.
Yeah.
And something like that would have been so much nicer.
Your construction sites should have stacks of those things.
Well, and all I had was duct tape. I can make a tourniquet with duct tape, but it's not actually effective. I can slow the bleed with it, but it's not going to stop it.
Yeah. Well, so if you get a chance, go to their website, Snake Staff Systems. They have a whole living document, PDF, of all the documented uses of these. And it's kind of interesting. Like in the, I guess, tactical trauma medical type of setting, a lot of times we would think of like a hand injury is not necessarily something that would require a tourniquet, right? But I was reading a study, or a review of an incident where one of these was actually used. And long story short, the guy ended up basically tearing off a part of his hand and had his tourniquet with him. And on his own, was basically in a situation there where he needs to get to a higher level of care. He needs to get to the hospital, and he's got to get himself there, right? And we would say, on your hand, just put pressure on it, hold it there. You can bandage that up and basically prevent this from getting worse by keeping it covered and keeping pressure on it, right? But if you're the only guy there and you're bleeding out from your hand and you can't keep pressure on it because you've got to drive the car, you've got to call on the phone, or you've got to use a radio, or you've got to use a gun, right? This isn't something that I can occupy my other life-saving hand with. And so the guy used his tourniquet. He put it on his forearm and stops the bleeding. And the cool thing is, and just a credit to Snake Staff Systems, is I'm learning things just by reading through their review of the use of their products. Like they do a full review. Their medical team will say, okay, we're really glad that this worked and this patient survived, but it would have been even better if they had done this instead. And so they're like, rather than putting the tourniquet up here on your forearm, put it down here on your wrist. This is going to be a better pinch point for arteries, and it's going to work much more effectively fighting against these bones rather than fighting through the meat, right? And it's like they'll do stuff like that and review their own product and how it's used and say, this would have been a slightly better way of doing that, but everything worked out. And there's a lot of cases in that study already that show situations where, in some of these, they're pretty open about, we don't know, we can't verify, what type of tourniquet this was or if it was in its usable lifespan or whatever. But they document, failures of other tourniquets and then their tourniquet being used instead or additional to, and how much it improved the situation. So
Yeah.
super cool company. I'm really excited to work with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Seriously,
we'll hopefully having those. I don't know exactly when we're going to be placing their first order with them, but hopefully the next.
I
couple
sent them an
weeks.
email today.
Okay, great.
So yeah, they're going to get me our pricing sheet, and we're going to place an order. I'll probably order mostly the small ETQs. I may get a couple of the wide, and I may get like they make a version that comes with this and an IFAC. So
I think we just stock the tourniquets for now.
Yeah,
just to get
I
started
want
with
one of
them.
my hunting packs.
I want like
when I'm hunting, I have different packs too. Like I have my rifle pack, I have my day pack, I have my fanny pack, and it totally depends on what. Am I using my compound bow? Am I using my crossbow? Am I using my rifle? Am I using?
This is cool too. They make pouches too, where you can basically slip on a pouch onto like your rifle sling, and stow this on your rifle sling or on a backpack strap.
Well, the big thing for that I'm thinking about is as we're getting more into this medical stuff is talking to Scott from First Action Rescue, which is another medical company we're working with. He has been on so he's a flight paramedic, and one of the big things that he's been on site of a massive car crash, and they had like 6 doctors on the site and not a single tourniquet anywhere. Right. And I mean, yeah, helicopters are fast, but still, I think it probably took them 20 minutes to get there, which is plenty of bleed out time for most people. And so it's like, why don't we all carry tourniquets in our cars? We should all carry a couple. Like, they're cheap. I mean, if you're going to buy 100 of them, yeah, it gets expensive. But if you're buying 3 or 4 of them, most people can't afford something like that. And so throwing that in your car, you keep one in your pocket with one of these EDC ones. Like, we really should have tourniquets like everywhere. It's not an expensive thing to add on your car or whatever else you're carrying, right? Or your rifle pack. Like, that's easy. Everyone should have them on them. So anyway, we're really excited to be able to start carrying those for you guys to kind of make everyone a little bit more prepared.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we've talked a lot about that, but we are excited. So yeah, not necessarily an airsofter thing, but that isn't all we do. So
yeah. Is there any other do you guys have any questions, any other things that you want to know about SHOT Show? Products we saw there, things we did there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was exciting. Oh, one of the things, obviously, we talk about the gas blowbacks on, I think, every single live stream, but we got to mess with the new Daniel Defense licensed Simon gas system ones, and they are awesome. I'm really excited for those as well. But yeah, if you guys have anything else you guys want to hear about, I'm trying to think if there's any other cool products that we saw that was really kind of a standout.
PTS released some cool stuff.
Yeah, what did PTS? A new 1911, a new licensed 1911.
And licensed 1911 Red Dot ready. They released a new version of their Glock, which is way less expensive and pretty cool. They teased us with the Maul some more, which is kind of an every year thing.
Dude, we need to go figure out when that actually was released or announced. It's got to have been 3 or 4 years now.
Years ago. They released a new AK magazine. So we all know PTS makes the EPM 2s or EPM 1s, super high capacity or M4 magazine. Yeah. So they also now make a AK magazine that is really high capacity too.
Yeah, 230, I think, 230 rounds.
Yeah, I think he said 240.
It might have been 240. It was a lot. That's what we can confirm. It was a lot. I'm trying to think if there's anything. PTS had some cool stuff. Oh, one of the probably the most exciting booth that we stopped by from more of a business standpoint for Advantage, but this will super affect you, is Arcturus.
Yeah. Yeah,
Arcturus-
MOS, Arcturus, they do Gate, they do a lot of ENL.
My bad.
Yeah. So
those-
Arcturus has got some really cool guns coming out. Their starter packs are super affordable and come with a lithium ion battery. We've talked about possibly stocking those here in the shop. Nice thing is that, like, having a dealer relationship with them, we can kind of choose what comes in the package. So we've gone back and forth. Maybe we will do their lithium ion battery. Maybe we'll, say leave the lithium stuff out and we'll add Titan stuff into it. But they basically do a starter pack in the low $200 range that comes with a lithium battery and charger, which is really cool.
The thing that, and like, I love this beginner space because it's always fun to see what corners, because when you're talking about a sub $200 gun, before battery and charger, of course, you have to cut corners. Like, you're not going to get a Silent Platinum, a VFC, a Crytek. You're just not going to get that kind of quality in a sub 200 range, right? And so I love the corners that Arcturus ended up cutting. This was probably the first beginner gun I've seen in a long time where I was like, I want one of these. Like, I would 100% use one of these.
Well, and the thing that stood out to me about them is, like, yeah, they like you said, cut corners, but mostly what they did is they said, okay, we're going to do a beginner gun, but we're only going to do like 2 models. And rather than a lot of other companies will release a beginner package and they'll release 17 different models of the same base gun. And so they're not able to do it for a great price. But Arcturus, then granted, they're priced a little higher than some of the beginner stuff that we currently carry, but they are so much, not a step above. They're like 5 steps above.
It's for the price to quality ratio is just nuts. Like, so we're really excited on getting those starting to pull in. Their higher end stuff is pretty innovative. They've got some cool higher end stuff. Now you're pushing the $400 to $500 range on a lot of these things, but there's some really kind of cool different AKs they're doing. Their M4. What was their cool thing? They had a really cool thing with their M4 system.
Yeah. So they have a interchangeable magwell for one of their M4 systems. They call it their versatile line, which is fitting. Which, we kind of chuckled and laughed about how, our space, our community is kind of unique in that we have different rules for different caliber firearms, right? So, the fact that you can have a base gun that's an M4, but then have a magwell that takes Glock magazines or a magwell that takes AK magazines.
Well, the big thing too is
style just
you're changing the actual magwell versus just throwing an adapter. So it'll work significantly better than your adapters. And not that adapters have any really major problems, but anyway.
Yeah. And then we looked at their Trinity series. They have a Trinity AEG, which is basically just high-end internal parts, high-end external parts. Comes with the Gate Titan 2 installed with a bunch of other nice Gate internal parts with it. They do a Trinity HPA system, which is a kind of like the MTW out of the box HPA from the factory. Comes with the Gate Pulsar D in it. The cool thing that I really liked about that system is that they've really stepped up the innovation with that completed gun. They showed us and talked about some of the, in fact, we posted to our story earlier, one of the cool features that it has is Bluetooth connectivity. So you can actually shoot the gun from your phone.
Which not be allowed at any of our games, not permission.
Right. But you've got
it's
like
cool,
a little
though.
robot. You want to mount this thing to a robot, for instance, and then operate it from a cell phone. Which is kind of cool. Or they were showing it from your watch, connected to your phone. And then
the Apple Watch specifically.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the features, training mode features, basically, where you could disable the gun or force a malfunction with the gun.
Yeah.
To then the user would have to go through and like drop their magazine and hit their bolt catch or whatever. You can set like a magazine cutoff feature, so you have to hit your bolt catch when you reload. And one of the things that I think his name was Chris that we were talking to, one of the things that he mentioned was it's kind of an open source system with the coding and stuff. So innovation is bound to happen, and there's going to be lots of additions and changes and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. But overall, SHOT Show was a massive success for this year. Made a lot of new connections and stuff, like we were saying. But yeah, I'm sure that we'll be talking about this one all year with all the things we got going on. So yeah.
If there's anything really cool that you guys saw that you want us to look into, let us know, because we definitely didn't see everything.
No, we didn't even start scratching. Oh, no, we won't go. Well, we don't need to talk about it today. But yeah, we like
follow up.
Yeah, probably. I think the coolest thing about SHOT Show is one. I think there was roughly 60,000 people there this year, all people working in the industry. So it's super cool just to network with. I mean, we met the CEO of Tactical Games, which is kind of fun. So you just meet a lot of just random cool people. We met a ton of trainers based in Idaho, which is cool. But I mean, there was like 2 levels and 2 buildings worth of industry stuff just to look at. And so we couldn't even scratch the surface with everything that's there. And there was just a lot of really cool new companies and stuff. So yeah, we're excited for next year though. We're going back.
Yep. All right. Well, we're quite a bit over an hour, so probably ought to cut us off.
Sounds good. Well, guys, I don't know if we'll be back next week. Actually, we'll not be here. We are working on stuff for the expo next Tuesday. And so I guess one thing we've talked about doing is starting to do this, but strictly for training. And so if you guys are interested in that, then you'll see that starting to pop up here soon. We're pretty excited about it though.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We will talk to you guys later.